When Max inherited a small wooden box from his late grandfather, he expected nothing more than a few old trinkets or perhaps a letter. Instead, he found an intricately carved talisman made of bronze, shaped like a hawk in flight, and adorned with strange symbols. Its eyes, tiny but bright, were made of a gemstone that glowed faintly in the dark. Max knew his grandfather had traveled the world as an adventurer, but he had never imagined there would be something quite so mysterious hidden in his belongings. Intrigued, he decided to wear the talisman around his neck, feeling an odd connection to it. That night, as Max was getting ready for bed, he felt a strange pull from the talisman. The air around him thickened, and a voice echoed softly in his mind, calling his name. Startled, he looked around, but his room was empty. Dismissing it as his imagination, he tried to ignore the feeling, but he couldn't shake the sense that something was watching him. The next morning, he decided to visit his friend, Emma, who was a history enthusiast. When she saw the talisman, her eyes widened in shock. "Max, where did you get this?" she asked, examining the hawk carefully. She explained that she had read about similar artifacts in ancient legends, items that were said to hold great power and were often bound to powerful spirits. Curious, Max began researching the talisman with Emma's help. They discovered that it belonged to a series of enchanted items crafted centuries ago by a secret order of mystics. Each talisman was believed to be guarded by a spirit, bound to protect its owner, but also to test them, revealing their deepest fears and desires. As Max continued to wear the talisman, strange things began happening. He would catch glimpses of shadowy figures in the corner of his eye and hear whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. One night, while he was alone in his apartment, he heard a voice, soft and beckoning. It was the same voice he had heard the first night, but this time it was clearer. "Seek the truth, Max. Only then will you be free," it whispered. He felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He knew he had to understand the talisman's purpose, or he might never have peace. With Emma's support, Max decided to visit a secluded temple mentioned in their research, a place rumored to have once been a sanctuary for the Order of Mystics. The journey took them deep into the mountains, far from civilization. As they hiked through dense forests and treacherous paths, Max felt the talisman growing warmer against his chest, as if guiding him. When they finally reached the temple, it stood in ruins, yet an air of mystery surrounded it. Inside, they found ancient carvings on the walls that depicted hawks, much like Max's talisman. The carvings told a story of a powerful spirit, bound to protect the wearer of the hawk talisman from harm, but also bound to challenge them. The spirit was said to reveal hidden truths, forcing the wearer to confront their fears. As he read the inscriptions, Max felt a sudden surge of energy from the talisman. His vision blurred, and he found himself standing in a vast, empty landscape. He was no longer in the temple. He was in a strange realm, a place that felt both real and otherworldly. Before him stood a figure, cloaked in shadow, but with piercing eyes that glowed like the gemstones in the talisman. "You have sought the truth, Max," it said, its voice resonant and commanding. "Now you must face it." Max felt an intense fear rise within him, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady. The figure stepped closer, its form shifting between that of a hawk and a man. "I am the guardian of the talisman, bound to test those who dare wear it. You must prove yourself worthy, or be consumed by your fears." Suddenly, visions surrounded Max, memories of moments he had hidden from, fears he had buried deep within. He saw himself as a child, alone and afraid, in moments of doubt and insecurity he had faced as an adult. Each vision felt painfully real, as if he were reliving them. But through the fear, Max remembered why he was here. He had come to understand the talisman, to learn its purpose. Taking a deep breath, he faced the figure, his resolve unshaken. "I accept your test," he declared. The figure nodded, and the visions faded. The guardian spoke once more. "You have shown courage, Max. The talisman is now truly yours. Its power will guide you. But remember, it is a gift and a burden." In an instant, Max found himself back in the temple, with Emma by his side. She looked at him, her eyes filled with concern. "Are you all right?" she asked. Max nodded, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known before. The talisman, once a mysterious relic, now felt like a part of him, a symbol of the trials he had faced and the strength he had found. As they left the temple, Max knew his life would never be the same. The talisman was more than an heirloom. It was a connection to something ancient, a reminder that sometimes the greatest challenges are those we carry within ourselves.